Akron Public Schools Superintendent David James manages a district of 20,000 students. It has 3,000 employees and more than 50 schools and community learning centers. The school system is working to open a new Firestone Litchfield Community Learning Center this fall. That's part of an ongoing and seemingly ever-changing $800 million project by the district to create new schools that connect with their communities. The district is expanding its dual enrollment program with Stark State College and is offering educational choices with its college and career services program. Akron Public Schools continues to offer students early college entrance testing beginning in their junior year, and that gives them the chance to take the test twice should they need to. David James is a graduate of John Adams High School and Cleveland State University, where he received his bachelor's and master's degrees. He joined the Akron School District in 1992, became Executive Director for Business Affairs in 2002, and was named Superintendent in August 2008. Please welcome Akron Public Schools Superintendent David James to the Akron Press Club.
Well, thank you and good afternoon. And thanks for attending our 2016 State of the Akron Public Schools address. My gratitude, of course, to the Akron Press Club for again sponsoring this annual event, and also to the University of Akron and the staff here at Quaker Station. You are, as always, wonderful hosts for a variety of events in our community. I would like to point out, thank you. I would like to point out some folks here with us today, starting with our Akron Public School Board, Mr. Bruce Alexander, our president, Mr. Patrick Bravo, vice president, former president Lisa Mansfield, Mr. Tim Miller, Mr. Otterman's not here, but Reverend Dr. Curtis T. Walker and Miss Debbie Walsh. And if you happen to be a former school board member, like Reverend Arledge or Veronica Sims, saw another person in here, please stand. Ginger Baylor, please stand and be recognized. Thank you. Next, in addition to our mayor, Mr. Dan Horgan, and Summit County Executive Russ Pry, if there are other elected officials, please stand and be recognized. Thank you, and to all of our honored guests, welcome. Well, can you really believe that I've been doing this for almost 8 years, and it feels a lot longer. But as I close out my 8th years as superintendent, I spent a great deal of time really reflecting on the roles that our schools play in this community. And I think this topic is timely given many of the leadership changes in our community over this past year. And this has been a year of tremendous change, even upheaval, depending on your point of view. First, we say goodbye to our longtime mayor, Don Plasquelic, and I do want to thank our former mayor for his focus on education and his partnership in our Community Learning Center project. Also personally for his guidance and support. And believe me when I say that Don and I had our disagreements, but we could always leave the room with a handshake, and I really appreciate that. This year, of course, we welcome our new mayor, Mr. Dan Horgan, and I'd just like to say, I really do understand the connection between education and economic growth, and I agree that for our city to thrive, it really needs a well-educated workforce. I look forward to the continued collaboration with you, Mr. Horgan, Mayor Horgan, your administration, and Akron City Council as we build a better future for our kids. And you may have seen a recent article in Crane's Cleveland Business, and I was quite concerned with the findings of a report released by the Greater Ohio Policy Center, and I'm sure many of you share those same concerns. Of particular importance is the observation that our economic health in the areas of income, employment, poverty, and educational attainment has declined. We also face the challenge of increasing our population. The article also mentioned a growing skills gap in our workforce. Now, all of these issues have critical implications for our own educational system. As a member of Mayor Horrigan's Blue Ribbon Task Force, these issues are at the forefront of our discussions over the last several months. And I believe that our civic, our educational, and business communities do have the knowledge, the collaborative spirit, and some, but not all, the financial resources to make positive changes in the coming months. And I pledge my partnership to work with you, Mr. Mayor, and your administration to improve our community moving forward. Collectively, though, our success really takes genuine leadership. And let me level with you, leadership does not come easy because we as leaders cannot satisfy everybody. However, I do believe that everyone deserves a chance to prove that they can work for the benefit of our entire community. In order to overcome our challenges, we must leave our differences at the door and work for the benefit of all of our stakeholders. Now, in every leadership journey, there are missteps. I have made my fair share of them in my leadership experience. However, there comes a time when we have to move on to the more pressing issues of the day and to focus on our future. Remember, as leaders, we are responsible for scanning our environments and keeping an open mind, knowing what is acceptable and what is not. Many times we don't get what we want, but who said it's all about us? Many times as leaders, we may think we know what's best, but what if the community disagrees? True leadership is really about the people that we serve, especially in a community as diverse as Akron. All of us in our respective leadership roles face huge obstacles, but it's how we handle these challenges that counts. So today, as I reflect on our Akron Public Schools, I want to recall some of the challenges from last year to frame my update for this year. First of all, the Ebola virus came and went. Then we said goodbye to the old Margaret Park School, which was recently reduced to rubble. And so far, we haven't really seen much of our friend, the polar vortex this year, or the crippling snowmageddon, which has missed us so far. And while our weather has been cooperating for the most part this winter, all is not quiet in the field of education. Our district is keenly focused on creative strategies that help students become well-rounded academically and prepared for college and the workforce. And this remains a top priority. However, with the constant churn of new requirements and changing standards, it really makes it difficult for our organization to keep up and stay focused. Last year, we complained about the time it took for students to complete the inordinate number of state-required tests. This year, the state reduced the number of hours that our students need to test, and for that, I say thank you. However, for our students who will graduate in 2018 and beyond, there are new graduation requirements. Students now have to accumulate a minimum of 18 points on 7 end-of-course exams, and these exams cover Algebra 1, Geometry, U.S. Government, 9th and 10th grade English, Physical Science, and U.S. History. These Ohio State tests are administered at the end of each course. Students earn between 1 and 5 points per exam. So of the 18 points needed to graduate, students must earn 4 points in math, 4 in English, and at least 6 points in science and social studies. At the district level, our state report card is being released in piecemeal fashion this year. Several weeks ago, the Ohio Department of Education released a portion of our state report card covering graduation rate and the kindergarten to 3rd grade reading and literacy. The remaining portions will be released this Thursday. Now, this report card is incredibly complicated because the measures keep changing every single year and the tests change every single year. This year, the state changed the tests again, so now we have 3 years in a row with 3 different tests. This year's report card will reflect 1 year of scores from a test that has now been abolished by the state. These tests were much more rigorous with lengthy hours of administration, resulting in all schools across the state receiving lower scores. Due to new and more rigorous graduation requirements, our four-year graduation rate fell by 4.4 points from 78.4% last year to 74% this year. And on the state report card, that's an overall grade of F, even though we have one of the highest graduation rates among the urban districts in the state. So, of course, we still have a lot of work to do. However, I venture to say that no measure can tell the complete story of our schools and the hard work and dedication of our teachers, administrators, and other staff. I am especially proud of our educators and students because, again, this year, our test scores ranked number one compared to other urban districts across Ohio in the vast majority of subjects across all tested grade levels. Having achievement results among the top urban districts in Ohio, we have now fixed our sights on competing with our suburban districts in Summit County, and we're seeing positive progress. For example, in math and English language arts, our test scores, based on the preliminary results released by the Ohio Department of Education, are no longer the lowest in the county across 75% of the grades and subjects tested. We are making progress even though we have the highest poverty rates, the highest homeless rates, the highest mobility rates, and the highest rates of struggling students who are moving back to Akron Public Schools from low-performing charter schools. And I'm proud of our APS educators and students because when we tested students in 2015 using nationally normed tests, our students' math and reading scores grew in 1 year's time far more than the average growth of students compared across the country. Thank you. I'm proud of our APS educators and students because at the end of last year, our kindergarten, first, and second grade students were reading on grade level for the first time in the history of Akron Public Schools. And I'm also proud of our APS educators and students because at the end of the year, 99% of our third graders were reading on track and successfully moved on to the fourth grade, which is by far the highest percentage in all high poverty districts in Ohio, as well as highly competitive in Summit County. Only four of our third graders were retained under the state's third grade reading guarantee because they were not reading on track. And I think that's a great testament to our teachers. I'm proud of our APS educators and students because our 5-year graduation rate increased again this year to 83.8%. A testament to the fact that we never give up on our students, even though some may not graduate in 4 years. I'm proud of our APS educators and students because when we look at our college and career readiness measures, we are also number one in nearly every single indicator compared to the large urban districts, and we are no longer the lowest in Summit County. In other words, our results are now competitive with other districts in the county, and here are some of those highlights. We have one of the highest participation rates for the ACT in the county because we test all of our students for free. Our percentage of students scoring a remediation-free scores on the ACT test, the advanced placement scores of 3 or higher, and the percentage of students enrolled in college within 2 years of graduating are now competitive with some of the other districts in Summit County. In addition, our students earned nearly $11.5 million in scholarships this past year. We have the 4th highest percentage in Summit County of students earning 3 or more college credits while still in high school. We are number 1 in the county for the highest percentage of students receiving a score of 4 on the International Baccalaureate exam. And lastly, I'm incredibly proud of one of the most important measures on our state report card that has remained consistent for the last 10 years, our value-added results. This measure tells the community whether students are making a year's growth in 1 year's time. And just last night, we received the report from the Ohio Department of Education indicating that we are not making a year's growth in a year's time. We are actually making more than a year's growth in a year's time. We actually received an A in our overall value-added score. We received an A for our students with disabilities and their growth, and we received an A for our gifted students' growth, and we received an A for our lowest performing students' growth. So straight A's on this important measure of growth on the report card. I think that's something to applaud. At this time, could I ask my Akron Public Schools staff to stand at this moment so I could speak to you directly? Come on, don't be shy. If I'm up here standing up, you all can at least do the same. I'd just like to say that you have all made me so proud, and I'm most appreciative of your hard work and your dedication to our core mission to prepare each child for success. Now, to the rest of you, these are the people, they're the ones responsible for all the good work that we do each and every day, and I think they absolutely deserve a round of applause. Thank you. Now, for us to make even more progress towards our goal of being one of the best urban school districts, we need dynamic and supportive partners. Partners like LeBron James and the LeBron James Family Foundation, a valuable resource for our Akron Public Schools students, one that continues to grow. Today, more than 1,000 of our students in grades 3 through 7 have access to additional educational resources, including after-school tutoring, technology camps and training, unique life experiences, and of course, encouragement from LeBron himself. Thanks to their participation in the LeBron Wheels for Education program and the Akron I Promise Network programs. This year, LeBron and his foundation took their commitment to our students to a whole new level with a monumental announcement. Through a partnership with our friends at the University of Akron, every single Akron Public Schools student in the foundation programs that graduates from an Akron Public High School and achieves certain benchmarks will earn a full 4-year scholarship to the University of Akron. This means that college is now a reality for many of our kids and their families who didn't think it was ever possible, either for financial or other reasons. And this is really a life-changing opportunity for our students. And I look forward to the day when we can see them walk across the stage holding their college diploma in their hands. The foundation staff has become a mainstay in our community, when they aren't crashing my school assemblies to deliver brand new uniforms to deserving Akron Public Schools sports and cheerleading squads, or hosting the monthly hometown hall discussions with our families about how they can better serve our students. You can find the LeBron James Foundation team providing regular encouragement and incentives to our students. And with a new class of third graders joining this year, we look forward to the continued growth of this partnership. The more support and resources we can extend to our students and their families, the stronger their education and the entire Akron community will be. Michelle Campbell, I thank you and LeBron and your staff for everything you do for our students. Thank you. Last year, I also spoke about the importance of promoting a college-going and workforce-ready culture among our students and supporting the work of the Summit Education Initiative. Every Akron Public High School is working with SCI to increase the number of students earning a minimum 3.1 GPA and 6.5 credits of high school credits by the end of the 9th grade. For every one of our students who meets these measures, there's a 75% chance that they will earn a score of 21 or higher on the ACT. And that means they are better prepared for college. In addition, we are working with our high school students to complete the federal financial aid forms in the early spring of their senior years. Graduating with a plan to be either employed, enrolled, or enlisted in public service is a top priority for us. We also know that overall student success starts before kindergarten. Our early learning program continues to work with SCI and County Executive Russ Price First Things First initiative to increase the readiness of children entering kindergarten. All APS preschools participate in the Transition Skills Summary, as do all of the Head Start classrooms and most of the community-based preschools in Summit County. We focus on what our youngest learners need to be on the best path for success in school. Recently, I also attended SCI's Grad Nation Summit, which was here in this room, where 130 high schoolers spent the day connecting with 250 community and business leaders about the conditions we need to improve upon in our community to support students so they don't drop out of high school. SCI surveyed these students to get their take on student success, and we heard them loud and clear. Students want safe places in their neighborhood, safe learning environments, and schools with caring adults providing relevant, career-oriented education. I saw Darren Weimer here somewhere on this side of the room, but please stand and be recognized. I also like to thank Matt Devers for his work. Thank you both and the Board of SCI for supporting our work. Now, next, we have some very important post-secondary partnerships, people who are working with us to ensure student success. This year, we continue to partner with Stark State and President Para Jones and other post-secondary partners in the College Credit Plus program through the state of Ohio. And under this program, our high school students can take courses at Ohio colleges and earn transcripted credit. Currently, 150 of our students are taking college-level coursework, and for our families, this translates into thousands of dollars in savings for college. With a grant from Great Lakes Community Investments to improve college readiness, professors from Kent State University and Stark State College are on our high school campuses teaching courses. Kent State is operating the Kent State College Today program, serving 42 students at Ellett High School and 36 students at Firestone High School. Stark State College is operating the Stark Pass program at our East Community Learning Center, where Stark State professors are teaching courses for 65 students from Bucktown East, Garfield, Kenmore North, and the STEM High School. Now, many of you have heard me say that I am not interested in our students just getting a high school diploma. The end game for all of our children is to get to the career of their choice. And that's why we listen to our many industry partners to better understand what their needs are and how to prepare our students for careers. I am happy to report that we have a variety of new partnerships with local businesses and organizations, such as Summit Workforce Solutions under the leadership of Sue Lacey. Our Career Education Department has been working with local manufacturing companies who are opening their doors to expose our students to this field of work. I would also like to highlight the work of Joe Camphor and Gojo Industries. This past summer, Gojo employed 5 African-American male students as part of the Path to Excel program. Highlighted at last year's Akron's Black Male Summit, Gojo teamed up with Lee Gill, UA's Chief Diversity Officer, to identify these young men and to team up with employees at Gojo for a paid internship. And at the same time, Tom Malone, CEO at Summa Health System, hosted 10 of our APS student interns at several Summa Health facilities. The partnership between Akron Public Schools and Junior Achievement of North Central Ohio is also giving students valuable insight to the vital topics of entrepreneurship, workforce readiness, and financial literacy. Junior Achievement programming occurs in 293 classrooms across 30 Akron Public Schools, inspiring and preparing more than 6,100 young people to succeed in a global economy. And I'd like to thank President Michael Gaffney of Junior Achievement for your support. We also continue our partnership with the City of Akron, the University of Akron, the Greater Akron Chamber, and Invent Now with our 2 National Inventors Hall of Fame schools. This year we will graduate our first class of STEM students from the high school. Case Elementary and Litchfield Middle Schools continue to make great progress in joining Firestone High School in adopting the International Baccalaureate program. Resnick Community Learning Center has now started their transition to become a full IB school, with King CLC and Portage Path CLC coming up next. And Bucto New Tech Community Learning Center continues its work with the New Tech Network model of STEM education with project-based learning. Bucto happens to be a statewide success model for the Ohio Department of Education on how a district can combine the power of local resources and partnerships with federal funding to completely transform a lower performing school into a 21st century STEM learning community with improved results. Thank you. Last year, I discussed the goal of converting our North High School into a healthcare college and career academy. And I am happy to report that the staff at North High School continues to undergo the training, and we are working with the Ford Foundation's Next Generation Learning Organization to begin the next phase of this intensive strategic planning for the project. With continued support from the GAR Foundation and a $350,000 grant, we have deepened our partnerships with local industries, and we are moving forward with this national model of bringing together our educators, employers, and community members in an effort to better prepare our students for careers in the health and medical field. This career academy model of education has brought great educational attainment results to the city of Nashville, Tennessee. With our dedicated educators at North High School, under the excellent leadership of Principal Rachel Tecca, we will definitely see similar results. We will use North as a pilot college and career academy and have Ford Next Generation Learning Consultants work with our district, city leaders, and local business representatives to determine if we should replicate that college and career academy model to other high schools over the next 5 years. At this time, I'd like to thank Christine Mayer and Kirsten Toth, both from the GAR Foundation, for their continued strategic support in transforming education. Thank you. I think we all recognize that there are different pathways to student success. Miller South and the Akron School of the Arts at Firestone High School continue to offer our students clear, successful pathways in the fields of visual and performing arts. 32 career education programs spread throughout Akron Public Schools offer students a wide array of career pathways. Our athletic programs, coupled with our academic opportunities, offer students another critical pathway to the post-secondary world. Last year, I lamented about seeing some unsportsmanlike conduct from a few of our student athletes. At that time, we formed an athletic advisory council with the help of former Cleveland Browns player Tom Cousineau. The goal to make recommendations to inform our planning and decision-making process regarding the overall co-curricular athletic programming in the Akron Public Schools. The board and I also hired a new athletic director, Joe Vassilotti. This year we have seen the fruits of our labor. We have made improvements in our compliance efforts with the Ohio High School Athletic Association in the area of student eligibility bylaws. We have improved our Akron City Series by adding an actual Akron championship for football, the first since 1998. We also initiated purpose and budget statements for each sport at each school to improve accountability, initiated a middle school boys and girls championship tournament, required codes of conduct from our coaches and community service requirements from each of our teams. We developed a student athlete handbook, created videos of successful Akron alumni to promote college access, partnered with Positive Coaching Alliance to provide coach training, and partner with MCOR to provide free cardiac screenings to our athletes. We began a 6th grade basketball league with incentives for positive work in school and started to award Student Athlete of the Month for boys and girls at the high school and middle school level, and created a Twitter account for our Akron Public Schools athletics. Now, for all these positives, we still have some challenges. You know, there are times when the actions of a few can spoil the enjoyment for many. And I am sure that many of you heard about the skirmish at our Girls City Series basketball championship game between North and Kenmore High Schools. A few players, including one player who does not attend Akron Public Schools, that player attends a local charter school, but Ohio law requires us, if they choose, to let them play on our teams, took it upon herself to ruin a perfectly good game, which resulted in a few other APS players joining in the skirmish. And this occurred during a time after the game when both teams should have been shaking hands and congratulating each other for a great game. Now, I want to set the record straight because 2 of my school board members were actually in attendance. This incident was over quickly, and I have to congratulate our coaches, our security team members, our staff, and volunteers, because the incident was over almost as soon as it began. And I know this incident was first described in the media as a riot, but I respectfully disagree with this description. We restored order quickly, and we have handled the discipline of the student athletes involved. Okay, so I'll apologize for my soapbox moment. But, you know, when I was a kid, we knew there were winners and losers. When you lost, of course you didn't like it. No one likes to lose. However, we did not run over and sucker punch our opponents. We regrouped, we learned from our mistakes, and we kept trying. But today, when a parent exits the stands and participates in the skirmish, well, I've even run out of patience, and I'm a pretty patient person. You know, as parents, we have to strive to be positive role models for our children. And I know it can be a struggle to raise children, but they need to learn character, grit, the ethic of hard work, how to be kind and courteous, and how to get along with others. And some may ask, why? Why? Because once our children step out into the real world as adults, such behavior can land you in jail or even worse. You know, with a criminal record, your opportunities for the, quote, good life are seriously diminished. These negative behaviors are part of this school-to-prison pipeline, and we have to teach our students how to control their behavior, carry themselves as proud, dignified members of the Akron community. Now, I have charged Dan Rambler, our Director of Student Services, to improve the climate in our schools so that they are safe and affirming. And under his leadership, we have seen referrals to the Board of Education by students for serious infractions drop from 3.65 for every 100 students to 2.87 for every 100 students over the last 5 years. And these, again, are the most serious infractions of our code. Over the same period, suspensions have declined. Now, student behavior is always a work in progress, and our schools actually reflect the community in which they're located. I am happy to report, though, that we continue to work in partnership with Judge Linda Teodosio and the Juvenile Court in looking for ways to address court-involved youth, truancy, and alternatives to juvenile detention. Our police and schools partnership with the City of Akron and the Akron Police Department continues to be a model of collaboration as our resource officers in the middle and high school not are only there to help keep order, but they also serve as mentors to students who need it the most. Last year, I spoke about how some of our faith-based organizations like the Love Akron Network, the Hudson Church of Christ, United Church of Christ, how they were lending a hand at Findlay Community Learning Center. Also, St. Hilary Parish and the Seeds of Change program providing tutors for students at Helen Arnold. A group of local ministers forming the EMS group, standing for Education, Motivation, and Success. All of these folks teaming up to explore ways to support our children on the road to success. 2 of our community partners capitalized on the Ohio Community Connectors grant opportunity and were awarded grants to support mentoring programs in our schools. We partnered with the I Care Mentoring Group, a collaboration between the EMS group and Jonathan Greer of the Man Up movement, and they received a Community Connectors grant in the amount of $109,000 to bring a structured mentoring program to our schools. Collectively, our goal is to have our mentors meet with an assigned child for 1 hour once a week for 1 school year. Ultimately, we want to build student confidence, improve academic performance, and increase chances of graduation moving on to college and/or career. These mentors can help our students avoid negative influences, help them learn how to solve problems peacefully. To date, through I Care, we have 190 mentors with 130 students enrolled in the program in grades K through 11 at 35 schools. Jonathan Greer, who isn't here today, but he coordinates this effort, I want to give a hats off to him and thank him for letting us share his dream of building a better future for our students. I would also like to recognize Scott Myers from SD Myers. I know he's here. I'd like to say thank you for supporting us in this important effort as one of the main business partners with I Care. We also partnered with Jackie Silas Butler and Project Grant Akron. They also received a Community Connectors grant in an amount just shy of $70,000 to present to actually support their mentoring program at Bucktown Community Learning Center. In fact, earlier this year, Project Grant Akron and Bucktown CLC hosted a visit by former State Superintendent Dr. Richard Ross. And we heard from both mentors and mentees and saw the program firsthand and how successful that program really is. And I actually think the mentors are learning more from the mentees. But I'd like to thank Project Grant and Jackie Silas Butler for making a difference in the lives of our kids. Thank you. In order for us to continue making strides in academics and academic supports, our finances must be managed in a way where funds are available to support the classroom. Last year, I introduced our Chief Financial Officer, Ryan Pendleton, who brought us the financial report. Over the last year, I have truly enjoyed working with Ryan on district finances and really give credit to the school board for hiring him in the first place. When you include our general fund, federal funds, and our construction funds, the Akron Public Schools is a $562 million operation. We are one of the city's largest employers with a residual economic impact that we really do take very seriously. Over the last several years, we have earned clean audits from the Auditor of State, received an Auditor of State award, and a recent review of our federally funded programs, including Title I, was favorable. Our Board Finance Committee with Mr. Tim Miller and Patrick Bravo has brought sound guidance to issues related to our district finances. Our biggest challenge now is to make sure that we right-size our building footprint to reflect a student population of a little over 21,000 students. We also must keep an eye on a state budget as it relates to school funding. Our current 5-year forecast has a positive net balance in each of the next 5 years. However, that positive balance continues to decline. Now, it is not reasonable to expect us to ask our public for more support until we have actually exhausted every possible option to improve our efficiency. As we are now in the final stages of replacing our schools with this once-in-a-lifetime funding opportunity, with the state providing 60% of the funds, we have to look at building capacity, not only in our physical space, but how to protect our academic programs that make us special. In order to do that, we have to maximize the use of our new facilities for student learning. Recently, the school board approved a plan to close Smith and Lawndale elementary schools, which are located in the Kenmore cluster. And I'm certainly no fan of school closures. However, when we look at buildings that have enrollments that are half of what their capacity is, and there's capacity in surrounding schools, something has to give. In fact, based on the buildings we have constructed so far, the state of Ohio's population estimates are telling us that they will only fund 1,256 students. Garfield, Kenmore, North High Schools, Kent and Miller South Middle Schools, Pfeiffer, Bettis, and Firestone Park Elementary Schools have yet to be renovated or rebuilt. And collectively, these buildings represent 3,686 students. So you do the math. Our challenge will be funding our remaining schools without state matching funds unless we figure out a way to consolidate, because we have built enough square footage to handle our student population moving forward according to state calculations. In terms of the progress that we've made on our school construction projects, as mentioned earlier, Firestone and Litchfield Community Learning Centers will be opening this fall. In August, Harris Community Learning Center should be ready sometime between October and November. Construction should start on the new Elliott High School and Case Elementary School projects this spring with some early site work. And we will be working hard to see that our building program comes to completion. Now, I know out here that there are many people and partners, that we didn't mention. There's just so many of you, it's impossible for one speech to cover all that you do, because I think we partner with pretty much everyone in the room. But know this, at Akron Public Schools, we appreciate the support that many of you have provided to the children in this community. And finally, I would like to ask my superintendent seminar students to stand. Don't be embarrassed, just get up. I meet with these kids once a month. Now, these are just a few of the students that you as a community support. And for that, I am eternally grateful and humbled to have served the community as superintendent for another year. And hopefully we'll be back next year for another. So thank you and God bless.
Thank you. Any questions? Someone will be around to pick up the questions. I'll start off with a couple here. You mentioned the school report cards coming out. What advice would you have for parents, community leaders, and business folks here who will be reviewing those report cards over the next several days?
You want the truth? My truth? Unfortunately, I think the state report card has really become irrelevant. And why? Because, you can take our worst performing school in the district and you'll still see kids that are successful. One grade cannot tell you the full story of a school and how a school is doing. It's a lot more complicated. That when we look at growth versus performance, remember, many of our kids, and this is no excuse, it's a reality, many of our kids come to us without having any pre-kindergarten experience. Some come not knowing primary colors, not knowing how to read, not knowing their alphabet, and then our teachers have to take those materials and deal with them. And so what happens is we see a lot of growth. And we don't get a lot of credit for that at times. So when I look at some charts that our data people were providing showing across all grade levels, kids were making a year or more of growth across different topics and subject areas. Oh yeah, they haven't met the performance standards, but they are approaching and making some progress towards meeting those. But then what happens to us is that they change the metric every year. And so it's almost impossible to reach that target when the target's constantly moving. So I would say it's more than just looking at a single grade. It's also looking at some of the other supports, like our partnership with the LeBron James Family Foundation, like some of the partnerships we have with people with the United Way and others, and really look at the entire school community and how that can serve the need of your kids.
Follow-up question. What grade would you give the state in their effort?
You all are going to get me in trouble. At some point, I am trying to be politically correct. At some point, I believe, when people talk and they say they're concerned about student achievement, I honestly think they believe that, but it's the methods that they use of pitting one district to another. When you look at how schools are funded, it's unequal funding. When we look at how very low-performing charter schools can continue to get millions of dollars, and I can't remember, Ryan, how much money gets taken from us and flow at 38 million or more that flows from us to lower-performing schools, and that's just not fair. And when you look at the supports that we need to do our jobs, and it's like there are double standards when it comes to education. You have the private, for-profit people out there. They don't have to live by many of the rules that we do, and it just makes it difficult.
Here's a question from the audience. When will year-round schools take place? I believe you spoke about that last year, too.
Actually, I didn't. It was a question that someone asked, how did I feel about it? And then it got turned around as, oh, yeah, you're going to have year-round. Well, okay, so, my kids get sick and tired of me. It doesn't matter that they've graduated from high, because I tell them the same thing. How are you going to prepare yourself for the real world? And, I worked in the private sector before coming to Akron Public Schools. I didn't have summer off. I worked on Christmas. I had a job where I was working 12-hour shifts. And we say we want our kids to be prepared for the future and for the real world. Well, the real world, it's, you don't have 3 months off in the summer. And so, yes, I honestly believe that we should have school year-round. Doesn't mean that we have to do more class time, but it's hard to fit all of the things that we're asking our teachers and principals to do in our current school calendar. Plus, I want to make sure that kids can experience some things in the community. And I want an agricultural school. See, I shouldn't have said, don't put that in the paper. I want an agricultural technology program. We used to have a program like that at Bucktown, but in order for that to work, I need kids in school in the summer, during growing season. So, yeah, I really do believe that school should go to year-round.
Infant mortality has been raised as an issue in our community. As a matter of fact, 2 of the worst zip codes in the state for infant mortality are right here in Akron. What can the school district do to help reduce infant mortality in Akron?
I think the biggest thing we can do is really be open, which we are with our Summit County Department of Public Health and many of our other social service agencies in the community, because they're more experts at that than we are. While we have the kids, many of these organizations, have the networks to really help deal with that issue of prenatal care, which is very important. And we are always open to work with, we have a great relationship with Summit County Public Health and many other social service agencies and United Way, et cetera, to really open up our doors and allow access to our kids, which we do on a daily basis. I really think getting information out, to our communities regarding infant mortality is the way to go.
What can be done to stop Akron students from being taken through open enrollment to other districts?
be more competitive, and communicate more of what programs we have. See, the myth is that we don't get any kids coming in, but we do. We get kids coming into many of our STEM programs, of course, Miller, South, and Firestone, but really it's to be more competitive and to actually communicate what we have to offer, because believe me, 32 career programs, some excellent performing arts programs, a lot of different experiences, scholarship programs, not just through LeBron James and the partnership with University of Akron, but our own Innovation Generation Scholarship with the University of Akron. There are so many opportunities, and I keep talking until I'm blue in the face, but I think parents need to be more educated and make those types of decisions, for their kids.
Here's a question from the audience. How will the space at Smith Elementary in the Kenmore cluster be repurposed after it's closed?
We'll probably use that for some storage initially, and then we typically look to demolish those buildings so they don't become, havens of crime and become eyesores in the community. If you go across I-76 right by Summit Lake, you'll see that Margaret Park has come down and that side is being cleared. So eventually for our empty buildings, unless the city or the county has some use for them where we can do a transfer or a trade, we're going to try to get those demolished. And Smith is on such a small postage stamp site, doesn't even have really its own parking lot. They put a few parking spaces across the street, but we'll be looking at storing some things there temporarily and then eventually getting it demolished.
Okay. Just a couple more questions here. Where does the school district stand on Ohio's online checkbook program?
I'll say this, we're not going to be bullied. We will get to the online checkbook in our own time. No one is trying to, our books are open. The state auditor comes and looks at our books every year. Public records law, and there's nothing in our district that can be hidden, so we'll get to the open checkbook. I just don't like the way that they're trying to promote it by trying to embarrass us into doing it when I have a whole lot of other things that I have to do first. We have, I know they've reached out to us. We've reached out back and gave them a timeline on when we felt we could, do that. But, I have some other things that are a higher priority. And if someone wants to look at our books, just come on in because, again, they're all public records.
Final question. You mentioned your strong partnership with the LeBron James Family Foundation. Through your partnership, can you give us a prediction on how far the Cavs will go in the playoffs this year?
No, I can't do that. You'll need someone more qualified than me to do that one. But I certainly, Northeast Ohio has really struggled, really in terms of sports. I grew up in Cleveland, so it's always been, we're almost there, and then bam, it's over, But we really do need a championship, regardless of who it is. So we're rooting for our teams, and good luck.
Thank you all for coming out today. Thanks again. Thank you.
All right, thank you.